Welcome to the pause. I want to start today with a question that might just ruin your day,
Oh, good.
but in, the most productive way possible. Is your personality real? Or is it just a deeply ingrained survival strategy that you've mistaken for yourself?
It's one of those questions, isn't it? It sounds so simple, almost like a pop psychology quiz,
Right.
until you actually stop the car, turn off the radio, and you just sit with it. And then, well, then it becomes incredibly destabilizing.
It really does. Because we view our personalities as like the bedrock of who we are. It's the one thing we feel we own.
It is. It's the I am statement.
Exactly. We cling to these. I tell people I'm the energetic one, or, I'm the funny guy. You hear it all the time. I'm the responsible one.
Or I'm the wild card. Or I'm shy, I'm loud, I'm a type A. We wear them like name tags,
Yeah, like name tags that got pinned to our shirts on the first day of kindergarten.
and we never took them off.
We never even checked. We never checked to see if the pin fell off or if the name even fits anymore. We just assume it's, I don't know, welded to our chest. If I asked someone listening right now, why are you shy? They'd look at me like I asked, why do you have feet?
They just say that's just how I am.
That's just me.
And that assumption that this is just how I am, that's exactly what the source material for this deep dive is. Well, it's attacking, really.
It's a little provocative.
It is. The core idea we're unpacking is that while personality feels innate, like your eye color or something, it's actually much more like architecture.
It was built.
It was built. And if it was built, there was an architect.
Okay.
But the disturbing part of this whole inquiry is that the architect wasn't necessarily you making some creative choice. The architect was survival.
Okay, so let's get into the blueprints for this. The architecture of adaptation. When we say survival, I think people picture, a caveman running from a tiger.
Right.
But we're talking about something much more subtle, emotional survival in the living room.
Yes. You have to look at the biology of a child. Human kids are, uniquely vulnerable. A foal can walk minutes after it's born. A human infant is just helpless.
Completely, 100% dependent.
On caregivers, for safety, for food, for everything. So the source argues a child is essentially a highly advanced, high-stakes data scientist.
Collecting data on the giants running the house.
Exactly. They are running constant A/B tests on their environment.
Yeah.
If I cry, do I get held or do I get yelled at?
If I make a joke, does the tension in the room drop?
If I stay quiet, do they stop fighting? It's all data.
So it's this cause and effect loop. The source lists some really specific examples of how these loops calcify into traits. Let's walk through a few.
Let's do it.
Because I think everyone listening is going to see themselves or maybe their partner in at least one of these.
Well, for sure. Let's start with the loud personality, the performer. The source describes a scenario where a child is in, say, a chaotic home or a really big family.
Lots of siblings.
Right. And they learn very, very quickly that normal volume just equals being ignored.
And being ignored, biologically speaking, feels like death to a kid. It means resources, love, attention, they're not coming your way.
It is death. Isolation is dangerous. So the data point becomes loudness equals attention. Attention equals safety.
So they crank the volume.
They crank the volume. They learn to be the jester, the squeaky wheel. And after 10 years, that neural pathway is a superhighway. As an adult, they aren't choosing to be loud.
They just are loud.
Okay, so let's flip it. What about the quiet person? We always assume introversion is just genetic, right? Like, oh, he's just wired that way.
Yeah, that's the story.
And look, a lot of it is temperament, for sure. We're not discounting genetics here. But the source asks us to look at the environment. So suppose you grow up in a really volatile home.
Like a parent has a short fuse, or there's addiction.
Exactly. So if being noticed means you become a target.
Then the data point is silence equals safety.
Correct. The child learns to make themselves small, invisible. If I'm not here, I can't be hurt. And that's not introversion. That's camouflage.
Wow.
And the tragedy is, 30 years later, that person is in a board meeting. They have a great idea, and they physically cannot speak up. The camouflage is still on.
This is starting to make sense, but there's a category that, it hit me really hard when I was reading this. It's the helpful ones. The people who are always volunteering, always fixing things, organizing the party. We just think, wow, what a nice person.
And they are nice. That's what's so tricky about this. But the source asks, why are they nice? What's the engine driving it?
Right.
The logic is, if being helpful earned love, I must become indispensable.
Indispensability as a shield. That is fascinating.
Think about it. If I'm useful, you can't get rid of me. It's a brilliant strategy against abandonment.
Totally.
If I'm the one holding the family together or the friend group, I have secured my place. I have, in a way, paid my rent for existing.
God, that's heavy. It changes I'm a helpful person to something more like I'm terrified of being unnecessary.
It does, and it connects to another one the source mentions, the invisible child. This is the kid who learns, if being invisible prevented conflict, I will disappear.
Yeah, the source described this as the kid who hears the garage door and immediately can gauge the vibration in the house.
Yes.
Is it a safe night or is it a go-to-your-room night?
And that kid becomes the adult who doesn't take up space, who apologizes for existing, who says sorry when you bump into them.
So the mechanism is stimulus, response, repetition.
And eventually, amnesia. That's the final critical step. We forget. We forget we're responding to a specific set of circumstances. I forget it was a strategy.
We start to believe the mask is the face.
Exactly. We stop saying, I'm being quiet because Dad is stressed, and we start saying, I'm a quiet person.
This is just who I am.
And that phrase is the ultimate camouflage. It hides the history of the adaptation. It naturalizes the trauma.
This leads us to the section of the research that I found the most confronting. It's about the good traits.
Right.
It's one thing to say, okay, my anxiety is a survival response. But the source argues that even our most celebrated virtues, empathy, maturity, being chill, are often just trauma responses in a tuxedo.
This is the relabeling phenomenon. We take a frantic survival tactic and we give it a socially virtuous name. And because society rewards these traits, we never question them.
Let's walk through empathy. I mean, that's seen as the gold standard of being a good human. How can that be a survival strategy?
Well, true empathy is connection. It's feeling of someone. But the source makes a distinction between that and hypervigilance.
Okay.
So consider the child who had to read the room to survive. They had to know if mom was depressed or dad was angry before a word was even spoken.
They become human barometers.
And exactly. They developed this high-fidelity radar for microexpressions, for tone shifts. As adults, everyone says, wow, you're so empathetic, you always know what I need.
But inside, that person is exhausted. Because they're not connecting, they're scanning for threats.
It's a high-speed danger scan dressed up as a social skill. The logic is, if I anticipate your needs, I can avoid the explosion. It's manipulation, but in the kindest possible form.
Wow. Okay, what about the easygoing friend? The one who's always like, I'm cool with whatever.
Look at the architecture. The source suggests that often this is the child who learned that having an opinion was dangerous. If expressing a preference led to ridicule or conflict or being told you're difficult, you learn to amputate your preferences.
So whatever you want is fine isn't actually chill.
Bro.
It's a defense mechanism. It's please don't be mad at me.
It's the path of least resistance. And then there's the big one, maturity. We love telling kids, you are so mature for your age.
Oh, I got that one a lot. I wore it like a badge of honor. I'm not like the other kids. I'm sensible.
Most people do.
Yeah.
But psychologists have a name for this, parentification. If the parents were emotionally immature or absent, or there was a crisis, divorce, illness,
The child has to step up.
they step up, they skip childhood, they become the therapist, the mediator, the caretaker.
So the mature adult is actually just a retired child soldier.
That's a very stark way to put it, but yes. Underneath the empathy, the chillness, the maturity, the hidden driver, so often, is fear.
Okay, I want to pause here because this can feel really heavy.
It can.
It sounds like we're saying your personality is a lie and your best qualities are actually symptoms. But the source material is actually really compassionate about this, isn't it?
Incredibly. It explicitly states, there is nothing wrong with adaptation. It is intelligent.
It worked. It kept us alive.
It kept you safe. It kept you in the group. You successfully navigated a really complex childhood environment where you had like zero power. You should be thanking your nervous system.
Right, not judging it.
But, and this is the pivot point of the deep dive, it works then.
Right.
The concept we have to grapple with is problems arise when survival becomes limitation.
I liked the analogy the author used. It's like wearing a heavy parka because you live in the Arctic. It saves your life.
Every single day.
But then you move to Hawaii.
And you're still wearing the parka.
Yeah.
And now, the thing that saved you is suffocating you. It's preventing you from feeling the sun. People look at you and say, why are you wearing that? And you say,
This is just who I am. I'm a parka person.
exactly. The threat is gone, but the strategy remains. And that's where we see so much friction in our adult lives.
We're reacting to our partners or our bosses as if they're our parents.
Using 20-year-old maps for new territory. And this creates what the source calls negative self-talk scripts. We interpret our survival strategies as inherent flaws.
We look at the parka and say, I'm so sweaty and slow, something's wrong with me.
Yes. So let's decode a few of these because this is where the insight really lands. I'll give you the script, you give me the survival translation.
Okay, I'm ready. First one. I'm just not confident.
Translation. I learned that speaking up was punished. See the shift. It's not a lack of capability, it's a learned lesson.
Right. Okay, I don't need anyone. I'm better off alone.
Classic hyper-independence. Translation. I learned that relying on others was unsafe. Maybe you reached out and were dropped. You learned self-reliance was the only guarantee. You aren't cold, you're burned.
And the last one, which I think applies to so many high performers, I'm the strong one. I don't cry.
Translation. I learned that vulnerability wasn't allowed. You learned you had to be the rock because the adults around you were crumbling.
So I'm the strong one isn't a flex. It's a scar.
It's evidence of a time when you weren't allowed to be weak. And realizing this is the first step. If you realize the door was locked for a reason, but that reason is gone, you can just open the door.
But that's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if my personality is my armor and I take it off, who am I? Who am I without it?
That is the destabilizing question. Who are you without the armor? It makes people dizzy. We equate the armor with our skin. We think if we take it off, there's just a void underneath.
Or that we'll just get hurt again.
Exactly. The brain prefers familiar pain to unfamiliar safety.
So how do we deal with that fear? The source suggests that if identity is flexible, then your limits are also flexible. It reframes your flaws.
Right. Take the idea of being bad at relationships.
Which so many people believe about themselves.
But maybe you aren't bad at them. Maybe you are just guarded. And guarded is a dial you can turn down. It's a setting, not a life sentence.
Or I'm lazy. That's a huge shame trigger for people.
The source flips that so beautifully. Maybe you aren't lazy. Maybe you're unmotivated by things that don't align with your core self. It's not a character defect. It's a biological signal.
And the too sensitive label. I know so many people who were told they were too much.
Reframe it. Your sensitivity is a high-fidelity radar system you built to stay safe. You don't need to throw the radar away. It's a superpower. You just need to learn how to turn the volume down now that you aren't in a war zone.
It's about agency. We don't have to hate our past selves for building the armor.
No.
We just have to ask if we still want to carry the weight.
This brings us to a really great metaphor the source introduces. Personality as posture.
I loved this visual. It made it all click for me.
Think about your physical body. If you sit hunched over a laptop for 10 years, shoulders forward, head down, that hunch feels natural.
It's where your body goes automatically, yeah.
It is. Now, if I force you to stand up straight, pull your shoulders back. How does that feel?
It feels wrong. It feels stiff. It feels fake, like I'm posturing.
Right. Your body fights it. It wants to go back to the slump, because the slump is familiar. But is the hunch your real skeleton? No. It's a habit held long enough to feel like bone.
So our personality traits are these psychological knots?
Tighten knots of habit.
Mm-hmm.
So when we try to change, when the shy person tries to be bold or the strong person tries to cry, it feels incredibly fake. And we hate feeling
You
fake.
want to be authentic.
But the source challenges that definition of authenticity. It says, adjusting your posture doesn't mean you're fake. It means you're aligning yourself. You are actually moving closer to your true design.
Even if it feels foreign at first.
Yes. So fake it till you make it gets a bad rap. But in this context, it's actually just practice.
It's neuroplasticity in action.
You're stretching a muscle that hasn't been used since you were 6. It's going to feel awkward. But awkward is just the feeling of growth.
Adaptation is power. We did it once as kids to survive. Now we can do it consciously to thrive.
That's the key distinction. Child adaptation is reactive. Adult adaptation is proactive. You are choosing your shape now.
So let's get practical. The source invites us to try a thought experiment, and this is something you can literally do.
It asks you to imagine meeting yourself without history. Imagine walking into a room where nobody knows you. No labels, no one expects you to be the funny one or the responsible one.
A blank slate.
In that space, who would you experiment with being?
The source lists some options that might feel radical. One of them is just quieter.
That's a huge one for the performers. The people who feel they have to entertain the room to earn their keep. Can you imagine just resting, letting a silence sit there?
That makes my palms sweat just thinking about it.
That's how you know it's a survival mechanism.
Touché. Another option is more direct. This is for the easygoing people. Can you imagine saying, actually, I don't want pizza, I want tacos?
It sounds so small. But for someone whose survival depended on having no preferences, stating a preference for tacos is a revolutionary act.
You're thinking, if I say tacos, everyone will leave me, I'll be abandoned.
Yeah, and then you say it, and nobody leaves. They just say, okay, taco sounds good, and your brain gets this massive new data point expressing desire is safe.
You start rewriting the code, one taco at a time.
You start realizing the world you live in now is different from the one you grew up in. The giants are gone. You're the giant now.
The core question it asks us to sit with is, which parts of yourself feel chosen and which parts feel inherited?
That distinction is everything. Inherited parts are the ones handed to you by history. Here, wear this heavy coat.
But I live in Florida now.
Doesn't matter, it's a family heirloom. Your grandfather wore this coat of anxiety, your mother wore it, now you wear it.
It's like cleaning out a closet. You find that ugly sweater and go, why do I even have this?
And you realize, oh, my aunt gave it to me and I felt guilty throwing it away.
But I've been wearing it for 20 years.
Time to take it off. And that is the scary part, but it's also the exciting part. We're so afraid of losing ourselves that we don't realize we might find a better version underneath.
A version that isn't just surviving, but actually living.
Correct. Survival is about avoiding pain. Living is about pursuing joy, connection, meaning. You can't dance in a suit of armor.
It really challenges the fundamental way we wake up in the morning. It asks us to be the author, not just the character.
It's moving from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. You acknowledge the road you travel, but you decide where the car goes next.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I think we should just acknowledge that this isn't easy work. It's easier to stay asleep.
Oh, absolutely. Consciousness is always more expensive than habit. It costs energy, it costs comfort. But waking up to your own agency, it's worth the cost.
I love that. So we're going to leave you with the final provocation from the source material. It's a simple instruction, but if you actually do it, it might just change your day.
Take a breath and notice who you are when you're not trying to survive.